just gotten done with a really long day at work. I did work a double shift that morning, started at 7:30. My boyfriend at the time, him and I, we were driving, and we started arguing. The more we started to argue, the faster I started to drive, and I just started in my mind just kind of like, how can this be happening? How can this be my life? Here I was, a college dropout, beginning my senior year. I came home pregnant with my son instead of my diploma, and approaching 30 in a relationship, going nowhere, still waitressing, still bartending. It just, nothing made sense. Like, how did my life end up here? In that moment, I felt this whole peace just come over me, and I audibly, for the first time, heard God say to me, just come back to church. And I kind of snapped out of it, and I realized what I was doing, and I slammed on my brakes. My car, hit a bump in the road, and I ended up flipping 3 or more times. All the windows were shattered, all the airbags were deployed, and all 3 of us got out of the car. Me, him, and our dog, all 3 of us got out of the car without a scratch on us. And as we're sitting on the side of the road, the EMTs, in the fire department, these 2 gentlemen were standing there talking back and forth with one another, and they were just like, oh my God, we're not expecting this. Like, how many bodies do we have to pull out of this car tonight? And I looked up at them, and I was like, I'm right here. That night when I finally went home, I just kept hearing God saying to me, just come back to church, come back to church. And I didn't know where he wanted me to go. Like, where do you want me to go? I really wish I could say, I listened right away and found myself back in church, but I didn't. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know how to trust. I didn't know how to leave and give up a Sunday for church. And I heard God again, like, just come back to church. So one Sunday I'm working, and I finally said, okay, God, if this is what you want me to come back to church, I'll take off. Let me see what I can do. So I, spoke with the other manager and said, hey, what do you think about running the restaurant by yourself tomorrow? If I'm not here, do you think you can do it? And he's like, sure. So I took the day off. I got off for church. I still had no idea where I was going. But I was like, okay, God, wherever you want me to go. 20 minutes later, I get a phone call from my mother.
Nichole, I completely forgot to tell you. Last week, I went to this church down in Brick. I really think you would like it. Do you think you can get the day off tomorrow and come to church with me?
And I laughed, and I was like, well, I already have the day off to go to church, so I guess I know where we're going. So I walked in. I definitely felt awkward. Going to church for the first time in years, I felt like, oh my God, do I really belong here? I don't know anybody. What am I doing? But God, you called me, so here I am. That day in service, I heard Pastor Joe speaking right to me. The words he said were, Satan does not want you here. He doesn't want you here in church. He doesn't want you fellowshipping with other people. He will do whatever it takes to keep you from coming here, because he does not want you walking out the path God has for your life. And it stuck with me. And then he went on to say, if you put God first in your life, he'll make time for everything else that's important. By complete accident, I forgot my phone in the car that day, because I had numerous messages, phone calls from my boss.
Why are you not here? How could you let me down? You're supposed to be in charge and you're not here.
That church service cost me my job. And the place I had worked for almost 10 years of my life was now not an option. And I really, truly rededicated my life at that point. I threw it all up to God, and I said to him, fine, you know what? You called me here. This is where you wanted me. I'm going to give it all to you. and I will be here at every service, and I will take notes, and I will read your word, and I will do whatever it is you ask of me, but you better own it. Because God, if you don't own your end and you don't follow through, I'm done with you too. And I was serious, and I just didn't know how to trust him at that point, but I knew that that was my only option. I started coming to New Beginnings every Sunday, sometimes Saturdays. And I would sit there and I would take my notes and I would listen to Pastor Joe. You know, I got myself a good study Bible, and it was as if God was just downloading in me. I think I had been searching for so long for something to just fill that void, whether it was relationships or the drugs or the alcohol, the jobs. I think once I finally rededicated my life, everything changed. I went from being broken and lost and searching for more with this ever-growing void that just overwhelmed me. It just took me over. And, you know, I couldn't figure out where in life I was going or what direction I was heading in, or if there was even a direction for me. And by following God, I am not just a mother anymore. You know, I'm somebody's wife. I'm not just employed, but I am an employer. And I don't have the diploma to back it. God showed me wherever he wants you to be, you know, he's gonna pave that way. And it doesn't matter what a piece of paper says. It doesn't matter, you know, what anyone else thinks. All that matters is what God thinks. All that matters is what he has to say about you. And I'm not gonna be perfect. And God didn't call me to be perfect. He just called me to love him. And by being obedient to his word, I know that even when I screw up, he's got my back. So God did rewrite my story. Leading to that car crash, I really thought, you know, that was the first time of my life where I thought, this is it, I'm done. And I thought that was gonna be the end. And, you know, now here I am, years later, with God as the center of my being. And I know he's not finished yet.